because a lot of signs, the what do you call it, the emblem, so to speak.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Some of them people feel are cooler than others, so you're gonna see like scorpions, right? The fucking scorpion, they're supposed to be badass, whatever, frequent. So they're gonna be all over the place with the little scorpion, sign with the zodiac.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even we guilty of it. Taurus the bull, we guilty of it. Horns up, we do that shit every year. You can't see, you ain't never see as many bulls in your fucking life. So maybe it's attributed to the thing, because when you think of Aquarius, you know what I mean? It's not really that kind of.
That's what I'm saying. It's the water. It's the water thing. It's like I said, it's kind of quiet. But like I said, I'm laughing because and this is somebody you and I know mutually. I spoke to Wood today. Wood's birthday is the 23rd. I didn't know that.
Of what, January?
Yeah. So he's Aquarius. He falls under Aquarius. So somebody posted some pictures of him and my brother from back in the days or whatever. So I'm looking and reading the comments, and I was like, "Happy birthday, Wood." I was like, "Wood's Aquarius?" So I called him. I said, "Yo, Wood, you Aquarius?" He said, "Yeah, man, you ain't." I said, "Wood, I did not know you were Aquarius, brother." So we chopped it up for a while, and we laughing and just talking about things in general, and how.
Shout out and happy birthday to Haywood Workman, one of the most dopest dudes to watch in his NBA career and now in his referee career. He's just got a whole overall dope NBA career, and more importantly, just a cool motherfucker. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Wood's that dude. Like I look back and I always say, like, we're blessed and lucky. I know you're born into the right, so it's different. And for me, as a full outside, like my brother and cousins, no NBA motherfuckers. Like, I went to school with NBA motherfuckers. Mm-hmm. My uncle would have been, but he got hemmed up some bullshit. But so being that brother, you kind of get into that alumni a certain different way. Now, being a guy around it, all I got at the end of the day, I say this shit all the time. All I got at the end of the day is my coolness. I'm a cool dude. I'm not an asshole. I'm a cool dude to both sides of the spectrum, whether it's a bunch of women, bunch of men, and everything in between. I'm just a cool dude. So that shit sometimes flies for me. Sometimes in a room full of assholes, nobody give a fuck. But in a room full of real people, I've been blessed to be around other cool motherfuckers who happen to be motherfucking professional athletes. You know what I mean? Shout out to Terry DeHare and the Vin Bakers and the motherfucking Steve, Kenny Smiths and Sam Cassells and the Rick Brunson. The list goes, you already know. We've been around this shit so long. But off of my coolness, so all those guys that I've had a chance to intertwine it with and still rock with is because them too are cool people. You know what I mean? So on a Motivation Monday, it's only right to definitely bring it in on some birthday season. Now, your official day is February 9th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now some signs get real petty. Let me ask you, are Aquarius a petty sign? And when I say petty, I mean like you got people, right, that will say, because Zodiacs, they share dates between 2 months.
Yes.
So you got some people like, he's a January Aquarius. He's a February Aquarius. Do y'all do that dumb shit?
What's so interesting? I don't. What I'm finding though is, as you said, you move through the zodiac signs. I find that in every zodiac sign there are levels of weirdness that the person who's in that zodiac sign could attest to. Like for instance, to your point, my birthday's the 9th. Your late boy and my late brother's birthday is the 1st of February, and my oldest brother's is the 5th. So we 1st, 5th, and 9th. And my other older brother is in February as well, but he's Pisces. He's at the end of the month on the 29th. But I always laugh because even between the three of us, meaning my eldest brother, myself, and my younger brother, Malik, we all got different personalities. So sometimes I'll be questioning, are you sure you're born in this month? You sure you be doing some wild stuff that doesn't seem very like our zodiac sign kind of stuff? So to your point, I always laugh about that because I'm starting to hear stories like that from other zodiac signs. Like, yes, and I be questioning my brother or sister. I ain't sure that we in the same zodiac sign because they do some weird stuff that ain't even on my radar. But as far as pettiness goes, I think all signs have petty. I think the difference with Aquarians is our petty again is a silent. It's a silent kind of petty. So you do something to us, we won't even address it. You'll just notice that, they stopped fucking with me. Just literally stopped fucking with me. They don't call me. They just literally stopped. And they didn't give it a reason. They was just like, no, we good. We cool. We cool. I don't even want to bring it back up. So it's all right.
Oh, let me back up. Us, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Motivation Mondays. That's Amir Silly. I'm your boy, Tal Harris. So let's back it up. We had to jump in that because the elephant in the room was birthday season. But let's go back and let me ask you, bro, how was your weekend, brother? You stood me up not once, but twice. So how was your weekend?
So the weekend was good. The weekend overall was good. You absolutely right. I did stand you up, King, and I apologize about that. But trust and believe, we're gonna get that rectified because we can't have that no more. Because I'm gonna tell you, I was like a jealous side dude looking at the pictures like,
yeah. Let me all the people that's not on the gram. What he's talking about is I had the opportunity of rocking with the homie Russell Peters and hanging out with Lord Finesse and a bunch of other icons too. Shout out to Craig G, Juice Crew All Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Grandmaster Caz, Melly Mel, a bunch of actor dudes. I forget their name, but they've been in all our favorite mob movies and different things. But it's just a very cool ass vibe, star-studded weekend at the Beacon Theater. And what made it so cool is you forget a lot of the history. Remember we talked about how an athlete was interviewed, and they said to the athlete, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what would you say to your younger self? And the athlete said something that resonated with me and sticks with me to now. He's like, well, I would tell my younger self to listen, make sure you celebrate and enjoy these moments, these big moments and accolades as you go, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and you're not doing that anymore, you're going to wish you had, because everyone around us celebrates and sometimes more than we even get a chance. And I know what it is because I'm a victim of it. We're so pressed on that next thing, you know what I mean, that, we won't sit in this but so much. We did it, we happy, and when that could have been celebrated goddamn month by itself. So
yes,
that sticks with me. So I say that to say, Russell, when we go back to the history of the comedy, I'm hosting and kind of a big deal at the Boston Comedy Club when he's coming through, getting his comedy chops in the game and all that stuff. And, one of those guys that, got to come through you and get some stage time and all of it. And you fast forward 30 years and he never forgot that. You know what I mean? He bring it up, we reminisce, we talk over the shit and everything. Now ask me, do I remember most of it? No, until it's brought up and reiterated. And then I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember that. That's what that thing is when you're just not celebrating or paying attention to every little piece of the way. And next thing you know, you fast forward, it's 30 years. So it was a great honor to just be with him. He didn't call me on the small level, he called me on the big level. He's, hey man, like randomly, like you know how we be on our lives and he's in the background at Lord Finesse or West Wing or whatever. And he just chimed in on one show, and then at the end he was like, oh, called me right after the live. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm coming to New York Beacon. You want to do that with me? I'm like, look. I'm like, yeah, I'm home. I come through Friday, Saturday, no problem. We didn't speak again. Didn't have to speak again until Friday or Thursday, the day before. You just want to go over it, make sure you're there on time, and that was it. It was like 7:00. Cool, boom, there. Now, that's part. One of the thing. Part two of the thing is the actual nostalgia when you get there. And I'm sitting there telling him, because there's a room full of comics and everybody in the green room. And as he's doing this thing, the first night I only caught about 20, 25 minutes of the set. I had just gotten back, tired, wanted to get home, drop my bag, so much to do and unpack. And then the second night I was able to sit in the pocket and sit down there and watch the entire set. And I was telling Aldo and other cats when I was like, see, look at that. I was just pointing out a certain skill sets. I see right there, that's a skill set. Anybody could get up there and write down 10 jokes and go through 10 jokes. But do you have skills to do these other little things, these intangibles that go along with the set that makes your thing special than the other thing? It's like equivalent to me. Every time we watch, let's say the Super Bowl, like a big game, and somebody different every year does the national anthem. there's some people that just do it, and then there's some people who separate their shit.
Yeah.
When Whitney did it, she went on a cloud by herself. You know, Beyonce, like all these different people, when they did that, you put them in a thing by themselves because it wasn't just this. And the same thing applies to comedy. And it's been forever since I sat and really watched, you know, a Russell Peters beginning to end and everything. And I applaud him, you know. So the weekend was stupendous. You know, and that's, you got to realize that's coming right back, like literally off the plane, bam, 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 and then boom, right to that. Like, didn't get to come home and put your feet up and
relax,
check the mailbox and none of that. Right to the city, we down there, and so you missed out on a really good, not just the show wise. I'm sure the show for the people was good, but that was our type of thing. You know how we get down. That was our type of thing.
And it's funny because, like you said, I was doing everything I could think of under the sun. Obviously, like I said, within the parameters of, you know, what I could do that would still allow it to happen. Like I said, I didn't want to put anybody, you know, in any weird spaces or whatever, because at the end of the day, just the mere thought of being asked to be a part of certain things. And I say this humbly because, you know, when you talk about motivation, when you talk about certain things, to a point that you made early on when we first started this, so many of us assume and or think that you're supposed to be at everything. It's like the table's set and you're supposed to be at the table. And it doesn't necessarily work like that. A lot of what we see unfold when it comes to the people in our lives is unfolding because of the work that was put in prior to where you came in on the story. Now, I know for some people, they don't necessarily look at it that way because they say, well, no, you guys have such a great rapport and, you know, things of that magnitude. It's funny that Talent brings up Aquarius season because unbeknownst to y'all, and Talent could attest to this, like I said, my brother's birthday's on the 1st. I want to say it had to be maybe a 3 or 4 year run where my brother would throw a birthday party for himself when he was in LA.
Yeah.
And how many of us used to come out there? T, it used to be what, like 12, 13 of us, easy, something like that. And it was just us, like guys just being guys. My brother had a pool table in the house. Again, T could attest to this. If you got up at 6 a.m. and messed around and hit anything, messed with the balls, anything, somebody was waking up and challenged you on the pool table. So we bonded in ways that you can't even begin to imagine because it was just us, and everybody was, you know, really getting to know each other, and everybody was, you know, really partaking in each other's, you know, whatever we were doing. And a lot of it, and this is, you know, where a lot of people also don't understand, you're talking, I want to say 20 something or more years ago, we were all super young. So we were trying to figure a lot of stuff out too while we were doing this stuff.
Yes, sir.
And in trying to figure it out, the beauty of it was we were all newbies to everything. I laugh now. Gin and juice was just popping. T, am I lying? Because T's a tequila man now. But T, how much of that damn gin and juice did we used to have in the house?
Yo.
Cats waking up with headaches and hangovers and all kind of stupidness from messing around with gin. And we didn't know any better because we from New York. We like gin and juice. Nobody in New York drinks. We're like, nobody in New York drunk gin at all.
That's a fact.
So we out there trying to live that life and, you know, trying to acclimate ourselves to that energy and everything. So I smile about, to your point about being immersed in moments, because that is motivational as well. Please, let's all do a better job going forward. If you don't do this already, take time to immerse yourself in whatever moments arise for you. And it could be family, it could be a friend situation, even sometimes jobs and the various other things that we, you know, seem to have become a part of our reality. Sometimes you got to put the phone down and really look around the room and see who you connect to and why you connect to them from an energy standpoint, from a giving you nuggets of information that might be powerful and or helpful to you, and everything else in between. But unless you take the moment to really immerse yourself in it and enjoy it, then you find that, like you said, it's gone in a flash, and now you feel like you're back to what, or on to the next thing, as Talent, you know, mentioned a moment ago. And we've got to do a better job of, like I said, being in that moment. There are so many pictures that are unearthing themselves from, you know, some of the things that we've had the opportunity to do over the years. that as they're coming out and people are tagging me and I'm looking and like, wow, I forgot all about that. And, you know, you got to be smiling to yourself because in all fairness, I say this, and, you know, Talent may attest to this. You know, again, he happens to be in the entertainment industry, so it's a little bit different for him. But sometimes when people see these pictures and they see me, they like, I mean, I didn't know you knew this person or you knew that person. I go, when was I going to bring that up? Like, when was I really going to be able to tell you that? Because when it happened,
when was I going to bring that up?
And I'm in a different phase of my life now. Not that those people are not still connected to me, but you know, like anything, you move to newer phases and different phases of your life. You know, not to be a Debbie Downer, and I only want to say this because Ian happened to be, you know, somebody who I knew, Regina King's husband, you know, from LA, this, that, the third. I knew Ian extremely well. So, you know, obviously when that information came out this weekend in particular, you know, I was thrown by it. I had the pleasure of meeting Regina King maybe on 2 occasions, so I can't say that I know her that well, but I have met her. But, you know, and I'm like I said, I don't want this to be a downer, but what I'm saying to you is even in moments like that, you don't realize how many people and things you're connected to until certain things start to come up. And then you're like, oh my God, I forgot I did know that person, or I do know this person. And you hopefully take the time to go, I'm mindful and thankful that those relationships and or, you know, situations I've had the opportunity to be a part of in those moments. And that's huge. That's paramount.
Yeah, it's not a downer, bro. I would put that under the category of what I say every week that we're on here. I tell people to move a certain way because you are not promised tomorrow. Yes. So it goes under that umbrella. And if anything, these last 2-3 weeks was another. I mean, a couple of years ago, we had like a little 3-week span like these last 3 weeks. But, you know, around me, bro, it was nonstop, like every day or every other day or every 3 days. And shout out to my man, Ron Jeffries. Ron was our main flyer guy. You know, I had 3 flyer guys that I rode with, like Maine, and then I had about 3-4 more others I would give work to. But Ron was that guy for the majority of the ride and go above and beyond. You know what I mean? Ron was a bad dude. They found him dead in his apartment last Tuesday. So I get that call while I'm out on the road, like, fuck, right? So Ron, and when I tell you, like, he was that guy, like, it'd be pouring down rain. And like, you got dudes that think they cool, and then you got guys that they got a job to do. They're gonna do this job. Ron was, I got a job to do. So it could be a blizzard, it could be raining. God bless his heart, you know. And then it got to the point as I started to get more and more busy, and I couldn't get to. He lived in Harlem. I couldn't get to Harlem all the time when I would get a batch of flyers because I'm busy. And Ron, like, you know, he knew it was a competitive business. He knew it's 10 more dudes out there that want to get those flyers. You know, these guys get paid by the 1,000 they give out. So he knows I'm getting flyers in 5s and 10s of thousands. That's good money. So he's like, you know, once he realized that I got busy and I might not make, he didn't take no chance. He's like, T, you live Mount Vernon, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get on the Metro. Which one's closer to you? And he would get on the Metro, come to Mount Vernon East, which is blocks from me. I would go run down there real quick, give him 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, whatever he could carry, give him the flyers, give him the money. He'd go about his business. And he would be out there. If you was to sneak out on a night scene and see if you could see Ron, he out there. And during the day, the whole damn day, he's standing underneath the awning of the Apollo Theater hitting people. He did that so much. Today's show dedicated to him, by the way. He did that so much. This is how we look out for each other. There's another guy named Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell knew my mom. Came up with my mom and my uncles and all of them in school and everything. So he always looking out for me. Like, I don't care. Behind the scenes. See, that's a whole nother generation. This generation, we look out for each other and we want the points and accolades. Yo, you know, I looked out. That generation, you don't even know you have people in your corner. Shit is just, they just moving mountains and molehills and making sure you do what you got to do. So he's seen what Ron was doing. He's seen the work ethic. And Billy already was working at the Apollo. He's the guy, if you was to sign up to go on the tour, when they do the tourists come in, he's that guy. He knows the whole history, the building. He takes you around the building. He give you the whole, he dope as hell. He knows it A to Z. So he's seen Ron's work ethic and what he's doing, and he's out in front of Apollo. He goes up in the office and say, listen, we need to hire this guy, put him on staff to give out the brochures. He's not letting nobody walk down 125th and not get a brochure. Look at him. He's out there with like 4 or 5 independent flyers at a time. And Ron, he go above, like I said, he goes above me. A lot of flyer guys just go, here you go. Or say like somewhere, hey, comedy show, concert, whatever, and give you a flyer. Ron give you that flyer. If you stop and do this shit, Ron's in your ear. He beating it up. Oh, that show's gonna be off the chain. You never seen talent? Yo, let me tell you something. You want to be there, blah, 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 blah. He talk your shit up. So, and that's free of charge. You know what I mean? But shout out to Ron. Ron passed away. Then here in Mount Vernon, the head of our Democratic Party, Reggie Lafayette. Now, mind you, any given night we're drinking with Reggie Lafayette. Reggie was about maybe a year or a year and a half from full retirement. Like he already stepped down from his position in the Democratic Party and doing something lesser, let the young people in, and he took a lesser position because he had about 2 years left. And he's like, yo, at these 2 years, I'm all the way done. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. He fell down his steps and died. His neck was broken. So they don't know if it was a heart attack going up the steps or whatever. The end result was the end result. But you know what I'm saying? Like these things were going boom. And then of course the usual suspects, the famous ones we know, you know, so it's about 6 or 7 of these things back to back to back to back. So, and it just kept going. That's why I said this was a weird time, but I don't look at it like a downer time. I look at it like a motivation time of let this be the reminders for people. Yes. You don't know when they punch in your ticket. So apply all these things that we've been talking about months and years. We are in the 3rd year of this pandemic.
Yes.
So do you understand that we've been hitting the nail on the head about what we've been talking about for a minute now? So this is not like, oh yeah, they said that 2 months, 3 months. No, this is year 3, people. This is year 3, 2022. So remember, it's 2020. That's a full year. 2021. And now we're on year 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a good thing, man. And shout out to Alfreda. What's up, Alfreda? I see you there, baby. Yeah, you know, I consider them because I was in Rochester Thursday. I consider them part of the weekend because that Thursday does kick off the weekend, and we had such a great time in Rochester Thursday, bro. I gotta shout out Ray Diva. I gotta bring Ray Diva to New York so you guys can really see her live in person. She's dope as hell. She crushed it. Of course, you know Sean Harvey brought it home, and the locals. I think it was 5 other comedians, all locals. When I tell you everybody was on fire this night, and of course Quincy's in the kitchen whipping up his famous little dishes from at 11 in Buffalo. And when I tell you that man in there burning and sold all that, I was like, yo, I ain't mad at none of y'all. This is the perfect way to kick off the weekend.
Yeah. You know, again, like you said, it's all these little nuances. You know, you get into a space and a place and something else that you just alluded to. And I hope that everybody who's tuning into our show and who will possibly see this later, I hope that everybody really understands now too. Do the legwork in terms of documenting the stuff that means something to you. Like, you know, now that we have all of these beautiful cameras, y'all got the iPhone 13 and takes, you know, film, you could film yourself in, you know, cinematic, whatever. Same thing for the Galaxy phones and all this stuff. Start to document some of the stuff that means something to you, because the generations that are going to come behind you, I was having these fun conversations the entire weekend. A lot of the stuff they have no idea about. They don't even know. Like, we sit here and, you know, Tal and I right now are able over the last 3 years, like you said, almost 3 years, to talk to you guys through this medium. We didn't used to have this. It was either you talked in person or got together as a group, and that was that. But now we have this beautiful format that we can utilize to really document stuff. For those of you who may or may not be writing your books and your memoirs, and hopefully some of y'all are doing that as well, but you got this wonderful tool here that you can honestly sit down, set up, and just tell your stories and capture them, so that this way the younger people in your family, your children, your great grandchildren, your grandchildren, so forth and so on, they'll have record of. I didn't think about how powerful that can be until, to Talent's point, I started looking at the fact that we're losing folks, because some of the amazing stories that you guys have been witness to and or have been a part of, they'll be gone when you're gone, because nobody will know those stories. Nobody will be able to share those moments. I spend more of my time on these social media platforms, in all fairness to everybody, listening to people tell their stories, because I'll be watching like this, like, yo. You understand what I'm saying, T? Like, I really do tune in and see all of these, different, and it's, different entertainers. I saw a kid, from Kid and Play say something interesting this weekend. I saw Fat Joe on a podcast, and he gave some information, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that. But all of these, different things, and Vlad TV, and like I said, these various platforms, they have all this really cool information about people who we already seem to know and love, but you really don't know the stories. You think you know the stories because you've heard this or they've given you bits and pieces. But when you hear these people actually tell you the stories, Fat Joe told the story of that infamous game at the Rucker, T. Remember the game where we had the blackout? Now, Fat Joe told, I was there for that one. I'll never forget that. I was there because I was Team Jay-Z and, and all that stuff. You know my history, whatever. But I was there for that. That day, the park was crazy. Like, if you weren't there to truly witness it, you only think you know how crazy and how electric the park was that day. But if you was there, you're like, man, listen, it was a different kind of different. That's how wild it was. It was a different kind of different. And I mean that in the sense that the unknown factors about who was supposed to play and who was on what buses, because a lot of y'all, who may or may not be familiar, we had this infamous basketball game that was supposed to go down between Fat Joe and Jay-Z at Rucker Park in Harlem. This was some years ago. The amazing thing about it is the game was supposed to be one for the ages. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is the city went and had a blackout that day. And somebody on the panel, T, said this, and I had to think about it. I said, he might be right. He said, that was God. He did not want to see that game go down and it be total pandemonium in Harlem, because it most certainly would have been. That's how, fixated everybody was and how energetic, the crowd and, everything that went along with it. But I'm sharing that with y'all because, like I said, each and every one of y'all have moments like that as well. It might not be on that same, kind of stage or whatever the case may be, but trust and believe you got some moments and things that you've been a part of that are incredible. And when you share it, you'll see people light up and go, really? Something else that's just been motivating me, and this is true story, but I'm humbled by it at the same time. Again, Malik's name has been mentioned in a very large way in Kevin Garnett's documentary. He's got a documentary out called Anything is Possible, showing on Showtime. So oddly enough, people who are now checking out the documentary have had the opportunity to see me. So now they like, Amir, I didn't know. And I smile because I'm like, I know. I don't talk about it because that was a specific moment in time, and it is what it is, and it was what it was. And the people who were involved in that moment, we know what it was, and we're thankful and mindful of it. I said, but at the same time, we've moved on into newer spaces, into different spaces. So to T's point, you got to take those moments and drink it in. Drink it in. Don't just sit there and, nefariously be on your phone and not focus. Like you said, look around the room, see the faces of people who you either admire and or have seen, like you said, on television shows. I saw another great interview with Wood Harris. He was talking about the whole, journey with The Wire. And I didn't know this. He said, when he was doing the whole Wire thing, he said what was interesting is he was commuting. He said because the area in which they were shooting it was so While for the night, he said we had to commute. He said, so I would take the train down or I drive down with Idris and, we talk on the way and all this stuff. So to hear him tell these stories, I was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Because again, it just showed me that as much as we admire the finished product, all the little nuances that go into it. I even saw your boy, Fredro. He was talking about, he was on Vlad. He was talking about, some different things. But he said something that really blew my mind. He said somebody said to him, DMX was Onyx all encompassed in one dude. And I was like, yo.
I can see that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yo.
I can see that. I watched the interview with him and he told a great story about DMX when they did a song together. And that story was just so it encompassed who DMX was so crazy. Like, and I was like, yo, me knowing both sides of the gate, I'm like, that's what's up. But here's the thing with Fredro and them, like every now and then I tell stories from when we did Sunset Park, which that stood out, that was kind of crazy things. Like I always found it funny because this is a Sunset Park, people always think about movies and stuff like that. But there is a difference in film when you're working on a movie, a film, or what they consider a motion picture. Motion picture, that means there's a lot of moving parts, more money going into it. That's supposed to be this big thing. If you remember back then, the company was Columbia TriStar. Sony Pictures was the overall, company or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now they took very good care of us. I mean, you got what your pay was. They paid for you to relocate. They paid your rent, all that, and for transportation to get to and from the set, they gave everybody vehicles. Now, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 of us that was relocated and needed the vehicle. Everybody else kind of was living on the West Coast of Cali. And everybody got their own car, man. But every morning at 5 o'clock, everybody's up by my car. So I got to cram these Negroes. It was the dumbest shit in the world to me. But we were so cool. Nobody was stressed about it. But I would go, we lived in Marina Del Rey in the Oakwood apartment. So we would go right, like 2 blocks from the complex was gas station. So if we need to gas up, then we'd go to Long Beach where the set was, which is, and that morning, straight 20 minutes, ain't no traffic out there. But I always thought it was super funny because every time I'm morning driving, like they just be talking. I'm just waking up, back then it ain't like New York where you wake up and you go to bodega, grab you a cup of coffee. No, or the cart guys out there. So I got to wait till I get to the set to really start waking up with the coffee. So I'm just half asleep driving. At this time, it's fucking like automatic. And they all type of conversation going on. And like, I'll never forget, like at least once a week, I would say some shit like, yo, why y'all niggas don't drive? Why y'all, like, you know what it'll be? It'll be something small, like I hear something I want to hear, but they want to hear something else on the radio. Play that bullshit beat. I said, yo, it's my fucking car. Y'all can drive anytime you want. Any morning. I don't call you niggas in the morning. I get up and you niggas are already knowing because they know I'll leave. They know I'm one of them time slicker motherfuckers, and I won't call. I'll get in my car and go. So we'll be hanging the night before. Yo, 5, right? Yeah, 5. Them niggas would be at that car at 5. But I thought that was very funny. And then, I tell these stories of, people getting arrested during the shoot and all that. A couple of dudes fighting on the set, like a couple people about to catch some sex charges. It was so much moving shit going on. And I think I'm the only reason I wasn't close to no trouble is because I was probably the greenest. Fredro had did projects before. My man Anthony, Chicago, he did projects before. Drano, Antoine Tanner, he did projects before. Busy B, like all these guys were already acting and got some legs under them. And here I am, the green new dude. So I'm just doing shit by the book. I'm excited. I can't believe, like, I think we shot it for 5 months, but we had to work out and train real basketball training for another 2-3 months. But every 2 or 3 weeks, Danny DeVito would just pop up on the set. You know, I'm a fucking kid from the hood who loved Taxi and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, Danny DeVito, you know. So all of those things happening, but everybody's getting paid. Everybody got cars, all this type of shit. But still in all, we cramming in this nigga's car and we going. So one of the funniest stories is Terrence Howard going to jail. I'm going to tell a story, then I'm going to switch gears because I want to get to some other shit. But the story's funny because, so they tell us one week, in the middle of the movie, they say, hey, guys, next Saturday, can we get you guys for a couple of hours from 11 a.m. to whatever? We want to do the photo shoot. We like photo shoot. It was like, yeah, we do a photo shoot, and then we'll pick the picture that will be the poster. You know what I mean? To promote the movie. Everybody's like, all right, cool. Next Saturday, everybody's there but Terrence Howard. So, you know, they're stalling, you know, get something to eat, you know, we're going to order this, we're going to do this, get craft services, you know, shoot the ball around, practice. They're doing everything because 11:30 ain't no Terrence out. 12:30 ain't no Terrence out. After about 3 hours or 4 hours of this shit, you know, they do the photo shoot anyway without him. So come to find out, Monday, we come back Monday or Tuesday, this dude comes on the set. So everybody's like, yo, what the fuck, B? You missed the photo shoot. They probably gonna make us do it again. We gave up a Saturday, da da da. This motherfucker, this nigga was in jail because his truck got towed. And he got the sawed-off shotgun and went down to the tow place.
What?
To rob his truck back with a shotgun, right? Now, the funniest thing to me, being a comedian, when he comes back and he tells a story, everybody like, word. He's like, yeah, I pulled it out, boom. And, you know, motherfuckers, you know, they caught up to me and threw me in jail for a weekend, right? I said, my nigga, not for nothing, but your license and registration's in this car. Like, this shit is registered to you. Where you thought you was going after you got it? It's all documented. Like, it's your car. So after you get it, where you think you're going? So this motherfucker, so that's why I always tell people the first movie poster, it wasn't until it went to DVD and VHS that you started to see us on the cover. The initial cover was they just Rhea Perlman and Fredro and Drano on top of the three of them made the thing. And then they would come with the other covers because they wanted the principals. They wanted Face Man. They wanted Busy Bee. They wanted Butter. You know, they had key guys in there.
Mm-hmm.
The principles that they wanted, but he fucked it up for the rest of us. You know what I mean? We 3, 4, and 5. And it was like, you know what? We're just gonna go with this one here. Rhea's in the middle, boom, you know, with a guy. And that's how that came to be. I thought that shit was so funny. Now, the reason I bring Sunset Park up is we talk a lot about on Motivation Monday about we give them a lot of jewels, Amir. We give people a lot of jewels on how to keep themselves motivated, how to do this, that, and the third. But what we probably need to spend more time talking about when we talk about motivating is the things we need to do to motivate other people around us. Right? Because automatically the brain goes to, okay, I'm listening to this thing like therapy and how do I stay motivated and not promise tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. But how many times do we sit down and actually apply these things to maybe reaching out and motivating somebody that needs to be motivated?
Yeah, that's
you know,
it. That's it. You know, and it's so funny because, you know, to that exact point, as part of the weekend, or even like I said, as part of today in particular, I reached out to a few friends. Y'all always hear me say that on these varying platforms. Please reach out to your friends, text them, call them, you know, make calls or whatever. In this particular case, a lot of it had to do with birthdays that, you know, like I said, had come up in the last couple of days. So I was reaching out and, hey, yo, I'm just checking in on you and, you know, so forth and so on. But I think, you know, one of the ways that we can, you know, like you said, help to motivate others is it starts with that simple process first, because what we don't understand, and I'm not sure if this happens for so many other people who are watching our live and who may attest to this. You ever get a phone call and a certain person's name pop up on your phone and you smile and you kind of instantly feel better and or good? You just like, oh my God, this person reached out to me, or whatever the case may be. So I always encourage that, because it might start with something as simple as that. Yes, text messages are great, but the unfortunate part about text messages is sometimes they can still be misconstrued because of the other outside forces that we allow to talk to us now. So, for instance, I might text Talent and be like, "Yo, good morning," and be all caps. Son, why are you screaming at me so early in the morning in text language? You know what I mean? Like, we got all these weird nuances that we do now to each other that we didn't used to do before. You just, were happy somebody texted you and or reached out to you. But now there's rules and regulations that go along with that too. So you got to watch, what you're saying, son. What's with all the caps, my nigga? Like, why you? What's good? But, but I say that because we really, I really find that doing a lot of those little smaller nuances have such a big and more profound impact on people than some of the other things that you can think of. I mean, and then obviously there is the things that just come to mind. Talent, spoke about this earlier on our sports talk show, Box Seats. If somebody is an avid reader, and there's a specific book that you think they might enjoy, you send it to them. If somebody likes flowers and or likes candy or likes whatever, do yourself a favor, send it to them. Like, you don't lose anything by doing something seemingly out of the ordinary, because the impact and the rippling effect of that is so much more powerful than you can ever imagine. Talent, some of the people that are here on the platform could attest to this. There's memes and things that I see that I think are powerful and can be helpful to everyone. They're helpful to me, but I'm figuring they could be helpful to you, because we all have those moments of doubt. We all have those moments when we're not sure about something, or we might have been praying on something and we need some sort of confirmation. And sometimes a meme and or something will be just the thing to confirm something for somebody. Because I've had people text me back and go, "Bro, this was right on time. Thank you so much for sending this to me." But I send it because in my heart and in my mind, that's what it's about. It's about trying to keep us all motivated so that whatever we're going through, no matter how big or small it may seem to other people, is
Right.
big to that person. So when you at least do something that you think can be helpful and paramount to helping them be better and or get through it, then you can't beat that with a baseball bat. You know what I mean? So
Well,
I
that's
think
real.
that
And you know me, I'm big on lists. So my thing is, we need to probably, the same way we make lists with other things so we don't forget and stuff like that, make a little list for yourself. Maybe it's a monthly thing for people. Maybe it's a weekly thing where you go, I'm going to put 5 people down in my life or that I know, you know what I mean, can use this wellness check, if you will. Or like you said, it could be something about the person, like this person's going to enjoy this book. You know what I mean? Speaking of that, Sharonda, thank you for my book, Blood on the Garden Floor. She know me. Look, I was talking about it. I had to see the trailer. I'm like, oh, this shit is right. The 90s, like blah blah blah. So you're right. It's stuff like that. But whatever your threshold is, and 5 may be too many for people. Maybe 3, maybe 2. But if you do that, there's no different than what we talk about when we bring up the bank of karma, right?
Yeah.
And we say, things come back, things you put out in the universe circles back to you. It's the same thing. The same thing I always say about the people who do shit thinking and worried about it coming back. Then it might not work for you because you have an ulterior motive. You're going in with the wrong train of thought. You just do the thing that because it's good, it's for the greater good, and it's going to help somebody, and let karma do the rest. Karma keeps his own bank records. You know what I mean? Let that happen like that. But I think that's a thing that it hit me this morning. I was like talking to somebody, and it was like real appreciative of it, and reflecting on, hey man, this conversation about, and it brought you to mind because like you said, you always see check on somebody, and it was inadvertent. I'm not gonna take credit like I woke up and I was a superhero. It just it metamorphosed into what it should have been. And I was like, you know what? That's what we need to do. Each one teach one, pass it on. Now I get it because they said we can help to motivate. And then somebody said one time, well, you can't motivate a nigga don't want to be motivated. Okay. I'm not saying that we can force anybody to do anything. What I am saying is that we can plant those verbal seeds.
Yes.
And those verbal seeds, we can plant those verbal seeds that kind of take care of people and put it up here, because how many times, but think of it like this, how many times you've seen something, read something, watched something, or heard something that you didn't even put it to work right away. You didn't put it to use. Somewhere, some random moment, that shit popped back in your head and you went, oh yeah, and you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the moment you heard it, meant you did it didn't grab you like that. You know what I mean? It didn't grab you like that. You wasn't looking for it. Maybe you barely heard it. Maybe you was busy. Maybe you thought the person was full of shit. Whatever. All I know is, how many of us, if you've lived a grown life, there had to be times when you're doing something totally unrelated, and that thought, whatever was said, whatever was seen, whatever was heard, or whatever was watched, crept back in here, and you went, yo, dude said that. Because I hear you when you say it, right? Check on somebody. But then when we leave here, I'm not walking around making up my own song. Check on it. Amir said, check on him. Check on him. It's not like that. But then I wake up, I get this call, and what do say? Yeah, I ain't want nothing. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really want nothing. I just checking on it, boom, boom. And I was like, that's what's up, man. I appreciate that. And we went from there. And by the end of that call, that little checking on you for a few seconds turned into a 20-minute call, and we both felt better. And we both was stepping in high spirits and shit like that. So I think that we can do more of that. That's all. It's a good thing to do.
Yes. Like I said, the only thing I'll add to that, some of us, like I said, and it all depends on hopefully knowing your tribe and or your people. Other people, it could be music. It's something cool to send somebody a YouTube song that is their song or something that they might appreciate, so that this way when they do listen to it for that moment, 3 minutes or whatever it is, they kind of zone out of the normal odd things that they seem to have going on in their world and in their mind, and slide into that space and get, what you call it. I laugh because, to your point, like you said, we going on year 3. And, we haven't done anything musically, obviously, in a very, very long time. So we probably need to sneak on here at some point and do something musically just because. But I know I still get text messages and I still get people going, yo, y'all ain't whatever. And the funny thing is, obviously, Talent and I were really trying to entertain y'all and keep ourselves from, falling off into boredom and craziness just because of, where the time was and what was going on. But the beauty of it was some of you really took to it because it had a nostalgic feel to it, and it gave you an opportunity to really go back into a time and a place where specific things had you feeling really, really good about life. I mentioned this earlier, like I said, talking about where we are now, technically as a technological world. And it's so funny because, between phones and your iPads and, your Beat speakers and, all these nefarious things. The funny thing is now, you can have a radio and or record collection that is unimaginable, where back in the days, you actually physically had to have the records. Like you didn't have the luxury of listening to Stephanie Mills if you didn't have Stephanie Mills' album. That just, you couldn't do it. It wasn't, it was impossible. But now because of YouTube and, some of these other platforms, you can go on and pull that artist up and see their whole catalog and let it run or rip and, and immerse yourself in it. But the reason why I bring that up is because Talent and some of you in the live, remember this. Remember the whole stereo system you had where you had to turn on like 90 things? You press this button, turn that section on, turn this section on, the speaker.
Yeah.
Now your phone is all of that in one simple thing. So I smile about how much and how far we've come, because that's the beauty of, going through the various stages of life. I don't know how many of y'all, and this should be motivation as well, but I don't know how many of y'all have seen that new TikTok joint that's out. That's like the babies from the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, or 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't know if you've seen this, T, but they play this like cool music. They're like, look at how young they look. And when I tell you, I be crying because and it's true. There's no disrespect to our children and any young people who are going to see this later. But some of y'all is aging like bananas. I'm like, what's going on? You 29. Like, what are you doing with your life? Yo, stop. Stop. Put it down. Y'all got to stop. Y'all doing too much. Y'all, you ain't supposed to be looking 1,000 and you're only in your 20s. Like, what are y'all doing? You ever be watching some of these things, T, and they say that, you be like, are you sure? Like, I'm going to need to see a birth certificate, sir. Let me see some ID. Oh, ma'am, like, what are y'all doing? And I feel like, to your point, we started this, like we said, talking about zodiac signs. My 53rd birthday is coming up. So February 9th, I'll be 53 years old. And obviously, I don't necessarily feel like it. I don't, think about it. But at the same time, I'm smiling about it because I'm like, dang, it'll be 2 years after this happens. I'm 2 years from the double nickel and mid 50s. That was almost unfathomable when I was in the 80s. I was like, you ain't never going to get there, whatever, whatever. Now it's just chugging along like, nobody's business. But this is why you really do or should immerse yourself in these moments, because they come and go quicker than you can ever imagine. They really, really do.
You ain't never lied.
See, I'm sure you look at, like you said, whether you're posting them or other people post pictures of you, like you said, early on in your career, and you see the outfit, maybe you see the gear you had, you'd be like, what was I thinking? This outfit choice is trash. But probably at that time and in that moment, it was everything. You know what I mean? You was the hottest thing out.
Fashion is the first thing that stands out when you look at the throwback pictures. But you ain't never lied, though. The youth is aging way more than us, way faster than us. You shouldn't be 30 years old and out with your 65-year-old mother and you can't tell the difference. Don't get me wrong, respect to her for keeping her shit together. But what the fuck is up with you? Like, you got is it like a double-edged sword? It's like, what's your mother? Oh my God, you're so beautiful, Miss Brown. God bless you. Fuck is up with you though? You know what I'm saying? Like, so no, but I think, Amir, when you see somebody young and they look like they're aging at a super rapid rate, and I'm gonna tell you what I truly believe this to be a tribute to. I think that's the epitome of when we always say all things in moderation.
Yes.
That's the result of when you don't do whatever that thing is. It may be one thing, two things, three things, four things, five things, whatever. But whatever those things are, you're showing the result of what happens when you don't do it in moderation. I don't give a fuck. Even fucking. How many times you look at a porn star? These 5 years, they fly. I love that porn star. You fast forward 5 years, like, what the fuck? Somebody put a picture up, nigga, a meme with Pinky. Now, first of all, I was never really a Pinky fan or whatever, but I do know she had a big fan base. And what did they call her, man? Yo, the description, because they did the 10-year challenge. It was like Pinky Boom and it, nigga. I was like, yo, that's crazy, yo. I'm like, yo, and these are, motherfucker get on the porn star. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
These are American superheroes. These are legends. But again, because they're fucking for a living, that's not moderation.
Like you said, the wear and tear and or the energy behind it, because that's, a big part of it. We don't necessarily look at that act and the energy behind it. There is a proven science supposedly that in those moments, you're exchanging energies. It's not only, just the physical act itself, it's exchanging of energy as well. And, depending on what the other person is like and what their energy is like, you're absorbing theirs and they're absorbing yours, which is why sometimes even being around people, you can come away from somebody and be like, what the fuck now? I'm feeling, off or whatever. They done, zapped your good energy he gave you theirs, and they off and running. So you got to,
And think about it. You got to realize too, they're not just naturally. Once it becomes a job, your natural ability goes out the window to a certain extent, because I can't. It's not the kind of job I could wait till you're porn. So I'm the director. I got to wait till you horny. When do we shoot? I don't know. It's up to see what this guy gets horny. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You got a shoot schedule like a regular cartoon or motion picture. We had call at 6 o'clock, cameras up 7 o'clock. We shoot at 8 o'clock. So now that you have to do this natural performance in an unnatural setting, meaning when a clock come out, when they give you a time, now you got to take shit. Yeah. Now you got to take pills. You got to take injections. You got to do all these things to enhance so you can perform and get to the outcome you want for this to be a successful shoot. So that's taking that thing out of moderation, way out of moderation. It ain't no different than, athletes. They will have injuries that you'll probably never see in your life. The average person probably never going to rupture Achilles or motherfucking,
tear a meniscus.
And the average motherfucker is never going to do that. You know what I mean? But the people who are athletically doing what they're doing on a regular basis, they're going to be more prone to that because that thing is not in moderation no more.
Yeah.
And again, you got to, it's one thing, to me, it's a big difference to get up and go do something because you want to do it. And you do it every day because you want to do it every day. But it's a whole new thing when I hand you a schedule and you need to show up. When I made this schedule, I didn't take none of your shit in consideration. Yeah. I don't know about your bar mitzvah, your baby shower, your period coming on. I just gave you a motherfucking list of dates. Be there at that time, make it happen. It's impossible to keep it in moderation at that point.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And then, and I think that's a big motivator too. Talent mentioned something a second ago that is really, really paramount. Making your list. And the reason why I'm going to go back to that for a second is because I think one of the things that we don't realize is we all have triggers for various reasons. Things that happen to you in your childhood, things that happen to you in adulthood, so forth and so on. But hopefully when you make that list, you go back through that list and you figure out what things still work for you, what things no longer work for you, what things need to be updated, and so forth and so on. Because the more you do that and the more you tweak yourself, because the biggest thing or the one thing in all of these scenarios, whether it's family, friends, entertainment industry, so forth and so on, is you. So as long as you're tweaking yourself, meaning doing all of the things that you can do to make yourself be the best version of yourself that you can be, all the other things will take care of themselves. Because, again, energy begets energy. So when you make the adjustment to your personality, maybe you're not always the person who wants to be, fun and jovial and so forth and so on. But when you make that adjustment to realize that, maybe on occasion being jovial or being in good spirits and good energy, I see the results of that in how it comes back to me. You start making those adjustments. And then you have to identify situations where you truly need to bring that to the forefront, because it's easy to, say, well, I'll just apply it all the time. Every situation doesn't always have the same application. It's just a reality of this world and in the world that we live in, because as you move from person to person and from situation to situation, you notice that the dynamics of it change. So you have to make those adjustments. Talent and I are big sports guys, and we talk analogies all the time. I always tell people, this is one of my running sayings: make the adjustments to win your championship. See, we got to stop thinking that my championship and Talent's championship is the same championship. It might be, but chances are it probably isn't. So I can't do the same things that Talent's doing. I got to do the things that make sense for me to get to where I'm trying to get to in the way that I'm trying to get there. Talent has a whole different race that he's running.
Yeah.
I can peek over at his race and go, oh, snap, and maybe borrow one or two things, but to try to totally do exactly what he's doing, that's not my job. And that's not any of your jobs. Your job is to run your race, figure out what things work for you, how those things work, and then apply them, because that's how you're going to get to your end results and winning your championship in the way that you hope to win your
Hey,
championship.
speaking of sports, bro.
Yes, sir.
How motivating was that Buffalo game?
Man, listen, T. You know what's so crazy? I think I looked back either through the comments of the box show seats today or something else, and somebody said it perfectly, and I feel the exact same way. Unfortunately, that might have been the Super Bowl, and I'm mad to say that because that's what I want the Super Bowl to be like. That exact game.
That might have been the best game we've seen, man,
in quite some time. Yeah, like
you would have to really go find a game to go with that game because
to go with that game. But not only that, I'm gonna tell you what. The last, I know it hurt, Trina. I know it hurt. I know you hurt. But the not the last touchdown that Kelly threw, the one before, Allen threw. The one before that, when he put homeboy, like he got shot. Did you see that stutter move, T? Yo, the craziness.
Hold on. You never hear in NFL breaking ankles.
Yo, T, the craziness about it is I kept on saying to myself, I cannot wait until the memes and the music that they put to that starts to materialize, because he looked like Ricky in Boys in the Hood when he got shot on the Matrix. That nigga fell back like, no! Yo, son.
Yo, you know how crazy it was? You know a juke, we used to call that shit juke.
Yes.
You know a juke is crazy when a few steps later you fall. Because he juked him, and 3 steps later he caught the ball. He couldn't even stand up. He fell. He was still the juke was still going on.
Yo, but like you said, that was such a great game. I truly, to be honest, I didn't want to see it end. I'm so mad that the Buffalo Bills didn't have a chance to retaliate. Like I truly mean that. I know he was supposed to be the first person that, scores, whatever the case may be. But in all fairness, I wanted to see them at least give it a shot. Like I felt like they were owed that, because that's how great that game was. Like, I get it. It's not normally in the rule book, but look, we're going to have to extend this just because the way that this game has been playing out, I'm curious to see what these guys are going to do. Because Buffalo answered that bell time and time again. Now, granted, they did truly mess up by not, cutting the field off, with that 13 seconds or whatever the case may be. So,
you know what I think, though, when it came to that, I think when you really watch football, you watch the players and the clock. I always watch the players and the clock especially as it gets late in the game, because football is probably one of the most wear and tear sports, because it's brutal for 4 quarters. And when you're to that, and who do you need now? You needed your defense. So when I looked at I always watched the swag and how they moving. They were spent. By the time it got back and they needed that 13th, you needed the defense for those couple of downs, and they were spent. They were spent. They couldn't be as sharp as they was for 4 quarters. So, that's why I say, like, all 4 games, the person I thought was going to win, well, I thought the Chiefs were going to win. I didn't want them to win. I wanted Buffalo to win, but I thought they would win. But other than that, I thought every team I didn't think was going to win won, and it was a field goal. Even though these guys scored in overtime, I attribute the win to the field goal. Because the game was over. 13 seconds, unless you kick the field goal. And the field goal took it to that. And then it came down to a coin toss. People today were beefing. I was reading an article in the news where now they're protesting and want to change the overtime rule. Because people that don't know, just so you guys are clear, the overtime rule is the first person to score, if it's a field goal, you get a chance to score.
Yes.
But
if it's a touchdown.
If it's a touchdown, game over. Which I don't think that's fair, because I could come down and score a touchdown too. I just lost a coin toss. I lose the game.
Yeah.
I lost a coin toss. You got the ball first. You scored. I got to go home.
And that's why I said I thought that they needed to give Buffalo that opportunity, because I felt like they deserved it. Like
you know what? They should have. A game like that, you make an exception, bro.
Yeah.
They should be like, hold on one second. Referee in the middle of the field. Oh, we on the phone with Goodell. It In the spirit of the game. In the spirit.
But again, it was an, like you said, it was an incredible weekend of football. You know me, I was happy to see Brady lose and happy to see Aaron Rodgers lose. I know I ain't shit for that, but I was happy to see both of them go. And the funny thing, and I say this humbly because I know so many people love Tom Brady, and like I said, I'm not going to take away from his greatness. The man is great, but when he got his lip busted, son, and he got that 15 yard, when I tell you, I was having such a great time at home, like. Now that's how y'all supposed to handle Tom Brady. Y'all gotta rough that pretty boy up because you let that dude just sit back there and chill, he will pick you apart. They were wrestling him to the ground and doing all kind of rough.
You gotta be rough with him. You gotta be. Tom Brady once said, not Tom Brady, Peyton Manning once said the funniest shit about Ray Lewis. Because Ray Lewis was an enforcer coming, right after fucking LT, you got Ray Lewis. So he was like, every time Ray Lewis would bring me down to the ground. He drilled me in the ground for one, and then he used me to get up. Like, so it's extra, right? He said, and then he would turn and say to me, "I'll see you in a few minutes." What do you call him? He called him something. He said, "I'll see you in a few," like chump or punk, some shit like that. So I'll see you in a few minutes, punk. Like, he was like, "Yo, he said that was the old school mental with the physical that worked for them." But I'm just saying that if you watched any of the football games, especially the playoffs this weekend, you cannot help but walk away motivated about something with life. People, we love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. I know we went a few minutes over, but me and this dude ain't spoke. And just coming back at it, that's how it's going to be. Again, that's the infamous, world-renowned communicator himself, Amir Silly. I'm your boy Talent. It's Motivation Monday. Super producer Prophet Pete. Thank you, my brother.
Yeah,
we love you. It's birthday season. Peace.